Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to go over the brand new Nether activity in Destiny 2, which has sparked a little bit of controversy in the community based on some of the difficulty as well as the changes to how healing and health work in the Nether. And so starting off, I want to make clear that there are two different nodes for this activity. The left one is for exploration. There is no matchmaking within it, but you get 18 revives instead of 10. And this is intended for you to explore freely, but it is still rather challenging if you are not going in understanding how it's going to work. Whereas the right node has different selections you can make. The base version will have matchmaking. You can also do non-matchmaking of that version. There's also an expert version which also does not have matchmaking but can give better rewards. So understanding that first, the match-made version takes about 20 to 30 maybe 35 minutes, depending on how your team is working together. Not overly difficult, a little bit time consuming, but you can fail if you go through all of the revives that your team is allotted. So very important to not waste lives, and I'm going to go over some tips and tricks to avoid doing so in a second as well. The exploration one, though, is not meant to be completed as quickly and can take you maybe hours. I've seen people spend in there, and it can be very challenging. Health no longer regenerates in the way that you're used to in this game. One important factor, you want to be picking up the health packs as often as possible because that's going to be your primary source of healing. Bungie has said that they are going to be adjusting how various healing mechanisms like Devour, Restoration, all of that work as well to make it feel a little bit more prominent. But the key point is understanding that how your health works. You have a lot more than you're used to. Health regeneration is going to be much more incremental, and also you are going to want to really focus on those health packs. That's why it's so important to be destroying all those little urns and various destructible items on the ground, because they can drop health packs. They can also drop ammo, and it's very important to look for those as often as possible. If your team is dying a lot in the match-made activity or with the fire team you're in, stick together. You don't need to go and do all of the activities separately. Once you've kind of mastered the activity, that's when you're going to want to do so. And keep in mind, we are going to get buffs and upgrades over the course of the season that will also make the activity that much easier. Even in the runic enhancement that you can get fairly early on, you will start to see some massive changes. You can get overshields by picking up healing orbs. You can get healing orbs to be more effective. Stuff like that that will make life a lot easier. And that might be when you want to go fully exploring by yourself. You can also kind of set up a build that is going to be more inclined to delete enemies, better for clearing ads and also dealing with the bosses as quickly as possible, and not really focusing on healing or overshields as much as you might in other activities, because it just doesn't matter as much. And the faster you're able to kill enemies, the more of those healing orbs you're generating, and the less damage you're going to take over time. So that's also something to keep in mind as well. As we get additional upgrades throughout the season, it's going to be that much easier, and that might be when you jump into the expert version. Again, no matchmaking there, but that's where you're going to get adept versions of the weapons that you get in this season, the heretical arsenal. And so you can get adept versions. You can also get essentially shinies, which are double perks and an additional origin trait. So a lot of that, I believe, is really, really exciting for how this works. The loot is going to be plentiful, in my opinion. You just have to kind of understand what you're doing. As far as within the activity itself, some things to note. One, like I mentioned, stick with your team if people are dying. Two, don't waste lives just jumping around the map. There's a lot of holes. If you played D1 and are familiar with the Dreadnought, you can die over and over and over again if you're not careful, jumping from platform to platform. But take some time, if your team allows it, to look for secrets as well. You want to have on a wombo detector, so that way you can detect the items on the ground as well as the chests. This is going to be very nice because you can get weapons to drop from all of the chests around the map, and there's a ton of them. So make sure you're exploring as much as time allows and as much as your teammates want to as well, in order to maximize how many new weapons you're able to get. Now, again, once you start doing expert version, it's going to be that you're going to farm a little bit more, just because you're going to get the better version, the adept versions of the weapons, but even the base versions are really good, and getting a really good roll early on might help you with the expert version as well to chase that adept, because again, it's going to be random rolls and you're going to take some time to hunt for your perfect god roll that you're looking for. So very important there. Some other things to keep in mind: ad clear is paramount, but boss DPS is massive. If you can burn down the bosses and take as little damage as possible, that will help you going forward. If you are running low, make sure you are able to hunt down some of those healing orbs as much as possible. Clear out some ads in order to do so, and look for those urns and stuff on the ground. Before you take on the boss, make sure you're healing, because once you're down and you're critical, that's going to be much harder to regen for. If you're picking up some of those healing orbs, you're not going to go back up all the way to full health, and so you might take a couple shots and then get taken out. Also keep in mind that we don't understand fully what builds are going to be the best this season, with all of the changes we got to exotic armor, weapons, and some of the ability changes as well. So you may have a build on that just isn't working like you want it to, and now you have to design everything in a much different way. I'm going to have some builds here in the near future going over everything that I am using within the Nether activity, especially once I get into the expert version and start farming that, to showcase exactly how you want to be doing it. But yeah, whether you're match made or not, you want to be conserving your life as often as possible, playing a little bit more cautious, trying to understand how to efficiently do this as quickly as possible, because the longer you stick around, the more the chances are that you're going to die, waste lives, and all that kind of good stuff, and it can be a bit of an issue. Also, I would highly recommend watching out for some of the new enemies, because they can be problematic. They can take away your abilities, and it can be incredibly frustrating. So just look out for them and maybe have a weapon to take them out at a distance and not be fighting up close and personal all the time. Even though one of the challenges for this week is to kill enemies in that activity, you get bonus activity or bonus progress for killing the enemies with swords in that activity. So I think that's a choice from Bungie, but overall, don't worry about it if you're dying a lot initially. If you're having a hard time with the activity, it'll get easier. You'll get some unlocks, you'll get some new weapons, and you don't need to absolutely annihilate everything day one. This being a bit of a challenge, I think, is ultimately a good thing, because it provides a new way to play, new way to make builds, all that kind of good stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions about how to complete the activity, and if you have other questions about the activity in general. Anyway, my name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, have a good one. I'll catch you all later.